Okay, how is everyone doing today? Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Beth Watts, and I am the Transfer Transition Advisor here at App State. Joining me today is Riley Hutchinson. She is our Assistant Director of Admissions, and she works with our early college students. So we're very glad that everyone could be here with us today. We will be recording this so that if you would like to go back and reference it, then you can. And so we're really excited to have y'all here to talk about our early college high school students. They're definitely a population that is becoming more and more prevalent on our campus. Currently, we have about 456 early college students on campus. So we think it's really important to do some outreach. So Riley and I have been working together to hopefully make this presentation informative for you and so that we can make sure that our students are getting everything that they need. So in today's presentation, we'll start out with Riley talking a little bit about what an early college student is, the application deadlines, what that application process looks like for these students, and then some fee waiver information. And then I'll take over and I'll start talking about the challenges that we see whenever we're working with these students as they're coming to campus, some of the career counseling and major selection issues that we're seeing, and some also course selection advice. So we really hope that this information is helpful to you, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Riley and let her get started.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope that your afternoon is going great so far. So my name is Riley Hutchison. I am the Assistant Director of Admissions at Appalachian. I work with all early college students. I'm also a recent graduate of Appalachian, so all of my contact info is below. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you all have any questions at any point in time by email or phone number. So with that, we'll get started talking about the definition of an early college student at Appalachian. So an early college or middle college student is somebody who is coming into Appalachian with an Associates of Science or Arts upon graduating from an early college or middle college, or is bringing in substantial transferable credit. So we still categorize a student as an early college or middle college student, even if they have not completed an AA or an AS before they would enter Appalachian. So a little bit of background about admission at Appalachian. So for early college, middle college students, the typical admission criteria that we see for the middle 50% of our admitted students is an SAT score between an 1130 and a 1300, an ACT between a 23 and a 28, and a 3.9 to 4.4 weighted GPA. Now we expect to see that weighted GPA probably drop a little bit next year since North Carolina has changed the way that they are weighting their courses. It used to be on that 6-point scale, and it's now transitioning to more of a 5-point scale. And we have the minimum of a 2.25 transferable GPA for college students, but we typically see students coming in with maybe about a 3 or above. We don't have a typical middle 50% for that. Now, what are our application deadlines? So it is always best for students to apply in our first application deadline, so that early action number 1. We are completely non-binding at Appalachian, so whatever deadline you apply for, you're not bound to that decision. Now with that early action 1 deadline, it's listed on the slideshow as November 15th. That date might be changing to November 1st. So just have your students watch that website to see when their first admission deadline is. But if you apply by November 15th, you're going to hear back by January 25th. If you apply by February 1st, you'll hear back by March 1st, and March 15th, you're going to hear back by April 5th. Now at Appalachian, early college and middle college students apply as a first-year student. So that's one thing to make sure you convey, is that you are still going to apply as a first year even though you're coming in with so much transferable credit at Appalachian. So how do you apply? So a complete first-year application is going to have that online application. Students can apply via CFNC or Common App. They will need a $65 application fee or a fee waiver form if applicable. We have the NACAC fee waiver on our website that you can download. And there are several different circumstances that would allow for a student to use that fee waiver form. We'll need the official high school transcripts. We'll need the SAT or ACT scores and the official college transcripts. So for your students that are in early college or middle colleges, we are definitely going to need that official college transcript for their application to be complete. Now, so what is the Early College Choice Act? So the Early College Choice Act is really, really important for your students who are coming in trying to select how they're going to apply at Appalachian. So if a student has indicated that they are going to earn or will have earned an Associates of Arts or Sciences when they graduate from a North Carolina Cooperative Innovative High School, they're going to be asked to choose how they're going to be evaluated. So through the Early College Choice Act, students have the option to select if they would like to be considered as a first-year student for admission or a transfer student for admission. Now, being considered refers to the evaluation of their credits, not the student's type. So they're first-year students upon enrollment due to federal regulations, and they must complete the first-year application. But if they select that they want to be reviewed like a transfer student, they're going to be considered without MARs, so minimum admission requirements, like a transfer student would be considered. So, students who are receiving an Associate of Arts or Associate of Science are still required to submit high school transcripts and test scores in order to be considered for admission. These items are required by North Carolina, and they won't be considered in the admission process if a student chooses to be considered as a transfer. So they're still going to have to submit everything, but once they make that choice, if they select to be reviewed like a transfer student, we're not going to look at their high school information. So all students who have earned that college credit have to submit transcripts, the college transcripts as well as part of their application. After admission, students with credit will be evaluated and given a class standing based on the number of transferable credit hours that they have completed. So regardless of which option a student select, they're going to have the opportunity to attend first-year orientation or transfer orientation. So it's really going to be in the best interest of the student. We see a lot of students selecting, which option they think fits them best, whether that's to be considered as a first-year student or as a transfer student. And it really depends on where they fall academically and what they feel that their best option would be. So we encourage students to choose to be considered as a first year, either by selecting that they want to be considered by a first year or just not completing the form. If they leave it blank, we're automatically going to consider them as a first year student. We're committed to using the review process that best advantages each student. But if a student feels that their test scores and high school grades will disadvantage them in the review process, please absolutely encourage your students to choose the transfer option via that form. That's why we give it to them. So whichever option they're most comfortable with, have them do that one. Now, with degree programs and scholarships for early college students, we encourage students at early colleges or middle colleges to begin thinking about what degree program they would like to pursue, maybe a little bit earlier than they might have thought about before. Because programs requiring admission to the upper divisions, like nursing, are highly selective, and these students should plan on earning all A's if possible in every college course that they have taken. So programs with heavy course sequencing may require 3 to 4 years of college coursework to complete, even if a student has earned an Associates of Arts or an Associates of Science. So the most important thing is to have your students start thinking a little bit earlier about what programs they want to do and what courses are going to be required in those programs. So in terms of scholarships, you want to, think about the role that they play. So a lot of scholarships still require heavily on test scores and high school GPAs in addition to being successful in the college coursework. So students wishing to be considered for scholarships and other programs need to monitor their performance in both aspects. Now, if a student is interested in being considered for scholarships at Appalachian, they're going to need to submit their admission application and a scholarship application by our first admission deadline. We have one scholarship application that is going to keep them in the running for all of our merit-based scholarships and programs. It's 2 to 3 letters of recommendation and 3 to 4 short essays. So if you have a student that's interested in applying for merit-based scholarships, tell them to not send their letters of recommendation for admission, send them for scholarships. That's the best thing to do for that. So that kind of sums up everything for early college at Appalachian, why students are considered the way they are, what's going on, how to get your students best prepared. So our open house is on April 21st, and we have admitted student tours and campus tours Monday through Friday. You can register online. So does anyone have questions about admissions or the early college process at Appalachian?
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions, or you can also use the chat box. If you can find your chat box, you can feel free to use that also. Okay.
or if you have any other questions that you would want to send in via email or just give me a call, I'm more than happy to talk about any questions that may pop up.
Okay. All right. And we'll give you our contact information again at the end so that you have that. Okay. All right. So thank you, Riley. We're going to move on to advising. We know everyone is busy, so we want to make sure we keep this rolling. So again, my name is Beth Watts, and I am the Transfer Transition Advisor, and I do work in the Office of Transfer Services. So very glad that you guys are here. From Jessica, I see that we do have a question on the chat. So let me go back to Jessica's question here for Riley. It says, would you please review when students should apply as a first year versus transfer? So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so students should apply as a first-year student if they are either still completing their college coursework or within 1 year of graduation and have not done coursework anywhere else. So what's going to flip a student to that transfer status is if they have graduated from high school and taken coursework elsewhere. So I know on the website you see if a student has completed 30 semester hours, they're a transfer. That does not apply to middle college or early college students. So as long as they have not graduated from high school yet, they're still going to be a first-year student, not an early college or not a transfer student. Most early college students should have no issue applying as a first year. The biggest thing is just if they've graduated high school and attempted coursework anytime after high school, that's when they become a transfer student. And then I see another question had popped up about sending recommendations for scholarships and not for admissions. So for admissions at Appalachian, we do not require or encourage students to send letters of recommendation while they are applying for admission. Now, I do understand that sometimes students feel that it is very, very important for them to send us a letter of recommendation. Absolutely, then please still send us those recommendations. But I always encourage people that if they think they're going to apply for scholarships, hold those letters of recommendation, because a lot of times we see students submitting them for their application and then not realizing that they have to resubmit them for their scholarship application. So if a student is going to apply for both and doesn't want to submit them for admissions, just send them in for scholarships, because we don't require them for admissions. I always just say hold them for scholarships, so the teachers only have to submit them once.
I think you've got
a couple more. Yes. Okay. So the question is, if students need summer semester courses to complete early college in 4 years versus 5, the summer semester does not impact their transfer status, correct? Yes. So if a student is just doing that to complete their associates, they will have completed their associates by the time they enter. They will still want to apply as a first-year student at Appalachian. And then what if they want to be considered as a transfer due to lower high school grades and or test scores? Absolutely. What they will do is they're going to complete the first year application. They will send in all of the materials. So in order for their first year application to be complete, we will need their high school transcripts and their test scores, even if they're lower. But then they're going to get that Early College Choice Act. Then they're going to be able to select, I want to be evaluated as a transfer student. So we are not going to look at their high school transcript and their test scores. We're going to consider them as a transfer off of their college coursework, and they're going to be exempt from MARs, the minimum admission requirements. So absolutely, they can most definitely be considered as only a transfer student because of the lower high school grades and test scores. That's kind of why that Early College Choice Act is such a great thing, because it really helps students depending on their academic standing and where they feel that they fall.
Great. Any other questions for Riley? So Jessalyn, it looks like you've raised your hand. Would you like to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask? Is it allowing you to unmute and ask your question? Okay. Well, Jessalyn, if you just want to type it in the chat, you're more than welcome to. Okay, well, if you think of that question, we can come back to it, okay? All right, we're going to move on if there's no more questions for Riley, and then she'll also be available at the end of the presentation if we have more questions. So, okay, all right, so let's move on a little bit to talk about advising. So one of the things that we're seeing with our students as they're coming in is they're not quite to the prepared level that we need them to be. We realize that these students are coming to us a lot of times with the AA and AS degree, but a lot of times they don't know what major they want to go into. They've done some exploration, but they haven't done a whole lot. They may not have taken the appropriate courses as part of their AA and AS degree because they don't know what major they're going into. We have quite a few that come to us undecided. And as a result of that, they're a lot of times not taking the prerequisite courses that they need in order to be successful. And this is impacting their time to degree completion. More often than not, students coming from an early college high school with a 2-year degree do not complete a degree in 4 years, a total of 4 years. That 2 plus 2 is not necessarily realistic. So that's definitely something we want to put across to y'all as advisors, is because these students are coming to us with this idea that they're going to come in and just be done in 2 years. And a lot of times we're having to burst their bubble and say, that's not going to happen. So really want them to understand that it might not be 2 years to a 4-year degree completion. Also, they're coming in and they have a lot of coursework under their belt, but they may not be prepared as academically as they need to for the rigors of university life. And that also speaks to the fact of, they're 18 years old. We're putting them in major courses with students who have been on campus for a lot of times 2 years already. And so they're not necessarily there whenever it comes to their time management skills and being able to handle the rigor and also the time that needs to be spent out of class on the major coursework. And then lastly, we're seeing that they're not really getting involved on campus. We currently have an RLC that I will tell y'all a little bit more about, but these students are just not getting out there and getting involved with the various things that we have on campus. They tend to be a little bit more secluded within their own groups. We're not really sure whether that is because of a lack of access to activities at early colleges or whether it's just the trend with these students right now. So these are some of the things that we are looking at as we're working with these students here at Appalachian. One of the big things is, again, career counseling, early career counseling. When the students come to us and they say, well, I'm gonna be an accountant, I'm gonna be done in 2 years, but then they start realizing that that's gonna be a lot of math and they don't like math, that becomes a problem. So we are having to sit back, especially at orientation, and our advisors are having to really take a step back and do quite a bit of career counseling when they get here to help them really understand exactly what they're going into, what the job outlook looks like, where they may be working, where they may be living. So a lot of that's coming into play. And one of the things that I've also noticed is they may be thinking that they're coming to Appalachian to be an engineer when they really need to be going to NC State. So there also needs to be that early college exploration so that they know what school they need to go to in order to get the degree that they want. So how do we help them with that? Well, as part of the Comprehensive Articulation Agreement that came out in 2014, all University of North Carolina schools had to produce what are called baccalaureate degree plans or transfer guides. These guides tell community college advisors and early college and middle college advisors exactly how a student can complete their AA or AS degree. Now, right now, they are on a different website than our transfer.appstate website, but we are going to be making some revisions to those in the very near future. But I want to take you right now, if y'all don't mind, to the website currently that they are at. Let's load that. It's taking just a second. So right now they're at a website called ncc4yearguides.appstate.edu. And basically these baccalaureate degree plans are listed for every single major. And they're out there to assist you in assisting the student. So this is look at Department of Accounting. You look at the PDF file. Currently, these are 2-page documents. Hopefully, a lot of y'all have already seen them. Hopefully, this is pulling up. It's just taking a minute. They're 2-page Excel documents, and they can be a little bit cumbersome. If you've never seen this before, then I'm sure that you're understanding what I'm saying right now. And for those of you that are using them, you already know. So we are looking at making these into a one-page document, and I'll go over that a little bit more in just a minute. But these are really nice for y'all to use as advisors because they tell you exactly what courses the department or the university wants these students to have when they get here. As you can see, this is for an AA degree. We've put the courses that are required. And then on the second page, we look at the courses that they could take for those last 2 semesters at the community college. Now, this is where we're having a little bit of gray area with our students. A lot of these students are coming to us and not having these prerequisites already complete. As Riley was saying earlier, talking about the BSN program, if a student's going to go into our BSN program, which is very, very competitive, and they don't have the prerequisites, they're not going to be done in 2 years. So these guides are here to assist you as you assist students in helping them to understand what their college career is going to look like. If they can look at these and go by these as they're going through the early college and middle college system, it will greatly benefit them as they move through the university system. But there is something to remember with these guides. Now, these guides are made for our transfer students, and we do recommend that the transfer students look at these very carefully. Some of them will say it is recommended that a student get 30 hours of UGETC coursework and then transfer. That's very common for our interior design majors, elementary education, things of that nature. Now, we realize that that is not an option for the early college high school students. So that's when it needs to be made very clear to them that yes, you are going to have a 2-year degree, but you are going to be at the university longer than another 2 years. Okay, let me come back out of there and go back to the presentation. So this is what we're going to change it to. It will be at our transfer.appstate.edu website. Right now, the way that you look for these guides, it's not very intuitive. It's based by department, and students get very confused with that because they do not understand that Department of Curriculum and Instruction is our education department. So in an effort to make it easier for our students to use and for advisors to locate these guides, they will be listed alphabetically. And again, this will be coming with the 18-19 transfer guides, which will be coming out this summer. And we will be archiving all of our guides to make sure that if you have been using these, you still have access to the old ones. So these new guides are going to be 1 page. It's going to be very, very small, like it's going to be very prescriptive rather. The top section will probably be the section that you as early college advisors use the most, because it's going to tell you exactly what courses these students need to take and how they can take them step by step by step. Really the biggest purpose is to help these students make sure they're taking the right courses with regard to prerequisites. There will be some detailed notes in here, but keep in mind these are transfer guides. So these are for our transfer students, but they are a great tool for you to use as you're working with students who can choose to come to us as a transfer student or a first year with advanced credit. One thing to keep in mind with the new 18-19 guides, we will be moving to 120-hour degree plans. This is a state initiative, so our guides will be changing quite a bit, as will us trying to figure out how we're going to take some of our 128-hour degrees down to 120 hours. So it's going to be a fun summer of trying to work all that out. But I just want for you guys to be aware of these because it is very important that students utilize them so that they are prepared once they get here. So some things to remember when advising early college or middle college students. One thing, of course, if they're getting the AA or AS degree, only grades of C or better will transfer. We have had parents and students argue with us about a C minus, and we've actually had them try to wipe that minus out. So only grades of C or better are required. If they come to us with an AA or AS with grades of C or better, then all of their lower level general education requirements will be met. Now, that's not a guarantee that all the prerequisites are met, but we can say that the 44 hours of gen ed has been done. Students who come to us with an AA or AS do not take first year seminar. Again, they do not take our first year seminar class, but if they have not completed the AA or AS, they will take the first year seminar class. Even if they are 1 hour short from completing that degree, they will still take the freshman seminar class. Students will start their major coursework first semester, assuming all major prerequisites have been met. Again, that's just dependent on the student and how well they were advised at the early college level. If those prerequisites are done, let's say they're going into, again, College of Business, if they've got all of their accounting, econ, things of that done, then they will probably be done in 2 years. Usually most of our students who come with all of our prerequisites for the College of Business are done in 2 years, but again, that's very much dependent on the student. And as Riley stated, official community college transcripts are required. For us to say general education is met, we have to show that the degree was awarded and the date it was awarded. So that has to come from the community college. A lot of times that's a little bit of a timing issue with our early college students because of whenever they're getting out of high school and graduating from there, and then also graduating from the community college. So you kind of have to play that little game a little bit. Again, many students do not complete a baccalaureate degree in 2 years. I a lot of times the person that gets to bust that bubble, unfortunately, and tell them that it's going to be a little bit longer than 2 years. Depending on the major, it may take up to 4 years to complete the baccalaureate degree. If they are going into something like interior design, music, art, elementary education, certain biology concentrations, they're not going to get everything they need at the community college in order to meet all the prerequisites before they get to us. So it's very important that they understand that. And by utilizing those transfer guides, that's where you're going to see that information. So it's really important that y'all use those guides to help students understand, okay, yes, you're going to have a 2-year degree, but you may be at the university for another 4 because of how lengthy the degree that you're going into. One of the things with our interior design majors is it's very, very sequenced and it's very much project-based. So a lot of times they only take 12 hours because it's anymore as an overload, and that's one of the reasons that it is such a rigorous program. Same thing with elementary education. They can only take so much at the community college that's going to transfer. Most students that come to us with a 2-year degree going into elementary education take about 2.5 years to finish. It's usually 2 years here on campus and then a semester of student teaching. So, and we're happy to talk with students about that and what that looks like. But again, if they can get as many of those prerequisites done at the community college, it will expedite their time to degree completion. And that's why we really want to stress the use of those transfer guides. I spend quite a bit of time doing those every summer, so the more use they get, the better. Okay. Some other things with our early college students is housing. As Riley said, they are still considered first-year students, so they do live on campus. That's just their first year. We have created what's called an early college residential learning community. As I mentioned before, I am the chair for that community. In Belt Hall, it's about 40 beds. There is an application that is required with that. We just started it this year rather, so we're still in the guinea pig phase. We're kind of learning more about these students, and that's really given us the perspective of, what do these students need and how are they interacting on campus. And then, as I said earlier, we really want for them to get involved. There's the Early College Student Association, which has been recently formed this year. That's probably got about 50 different members in it, and they're looking to increase that. Again, we've got 400 different clubs and organizations on campus. If they want to play Quidditch, if they want to do whatever they want to do, gospel choir, it's here for them to do. All of y'all have been to university, so you understand the plethora of opportunities for students. Intramural sports is a big one also. For some reason, these students don't like to play sports, but we're trying to work on that with them. So we're really trying to encourage them to get involved on campus and really get into the feeling of being a mountaineer. We really feel like that's what's going to make them be most successful. And so any way that y'all can go ahead and encourage that, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. So questions, and I know there's some. I'm going to go back to the chat. It's hard for me to see the chat whenever we're presenting. So let me go back up here. I think the last one that we had, this is Kara. Is ASU still one of the North Carolina Teaching Fellow schools? Thanks. Well, teaching fellows.
We are not one of the teaching fellows schools.
Right,
No, we are not, but we do have a whole bunch of great programs that we try to have for our education students. So one of them is called ACES, the Appalachian Community of Education Scholars. So it is a residential learning experience. They are all housed in our Living and Learning Center, which is a suite-style residence hall on campus. They have professional development opportunities. There are some scholarship opportunities as well with our College of Education. They get students very, very involved, lots of clubs associated with that. So even though we don't have that program, we like to still support our College of Education students as much as we possibly can.
I think the next one's for you too.
Mm-hmm. So if a student is unable to get accepted as a first-year student, can the student then apply as a transfer? So if a student applies as a first year and is not admitted, they are not able to apply as a transfer until after they have graduated high school. So back to that North Carolina regulations, an early college student is still a first-year student. They can absolutely reapply later on. They have to wait until after they have graduated high school to do so. But I'm more than happy to talk with any students if they have questions about the admission process or what might be the best option for them to apply. But a student can absolutely apply again as a transfer, but once they have graduated high school, so then they meet that transfer student requirement.
Nice. Okay. All right. I think the next one is for me. Rita is asking if something is listed as recommended on the plan, should we encourage them to take the course? What happens if they do not take the recommended but other courses within those listed? If it is recommended, we would prefer that they take it. If it's recommended, it's probably because the department wants for them to have it. If they can't get it in at the community college, because we understand community colleges offer different courses based on size and availability, then they will have to take it once they get here. But if it says recommended, then it is recommended that they get it at the community college prior to transferring to Appalachian. Okay. So the next one, are early college transfers required to stay on campus first year also? Yes, they are. If they are considered early college first year student, then yes, they are required to live on campus. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Lance. For the degree programs you mentioned taking more than 2 additional years, how does that impact financial aid? Do they have enough classes to deem them full-time, or do we need to prepare them for part-time financial aid assistance? A lot of times what happens is we still make them full-time. They'll do a minor. We may pick up a minor if they don't have enough courses or they need to do the prereqs. Then we'll go ahead and throw them into a minor so that they do have full-time financial aid status. All right, here's one for you, Riley.
Absolutely. So the information regarding the Early College Choice Act and when it works best for students to choose first year versus transfer. I always encourage students to select the first year option, because with that, we can really consider them holistically. So when we consider students that have selected first year coming from an early college, we are going to give them a high school GPA and a transfer GPA. So it really kind of gives them the best look possible. Now, for a student who might not have excelled in high school, is not the best test taker, may have had some hiccups or struggles, but excels majorly in those community college courses, that is the perfect situation for someone to choose to be evaluated as a transfer student. Because then we only look at the courses where they have really been successful in. But let's say that you have a student who is right on the bubble of those numbers earlier that I shared about the 23 to 28 ACT, the 1130 to 1300 SAT. I would definitely still encourage that student to apply as a first year, because then if they do our optional materials, if they submit a resume, an essay, and an interest statement, we can review them holistically. So that way, they may still be on that bubble, but still applying as a first year is one of the best options because it gives us more information to consider for admission. So really, the only time that a student would be kind of benefited by choosing to be evaluated as a transfer is if their high school GPA and their test scores are significantly lower.
Okay, perfect. All right, so it looks like Lori had a question. Can you share a little bit of the registration for class process this year would be a pre-registration? So new students coming into Appalachian, they all go through the new student registration process. That will actually start on May 1st with ERA, Early Registration Advising. This is very, very similar to our transfer students. So all new students will go through ERA. It's an online module that they need to go through with a fine-tooth comb. It explains to them the registration process. It tells them, how to get into their AppleNet account, how to pull various documents, how to read the classes that they need. So it's very important that they go through that and take their time to go through it. At the end, there will be a quiz, and they have to pass the quiz in order to get their PIN, their personal identification number for their registration. So until they pass that quiz, they are not allowed to register. Once they are able to register for courses, they just need to go in and do the best that they can. Whenever they come to orientation, they will meet with an advisor at that time. Again, early college students can either choose to come to first year or transfer orientation. It's going to be a very similar process throughout. They will meet with the advisor. There will be various changes made. It'll be a very collaborative process. And so they just need to expect to come in and be patient with the process. Our office is also there to assist with any credit issues that may come up or anything like that. So it's going to be very similar to the transfers, but if they have any questions about that, they can give us a call and we'll help them through that. Okay, looks like you've got another one here, Riley.
Absolutely. So if a student reapplies as a transfer after graduating from high school, could they still get accepted for the fall admission? Absolutely. We admit transfer students for any semester, whether that be fall, spring, or even summer. So with that, when the student is applying as a transfer, they would just select the term that they would like to enter in as. Now, for transfer students, admission is on a rolling basis. They typically get a decision back in about 2 to 4 weeks. That application will open up August 1st of every year. There aren't any set deadlines, but I always encourage transfer students to apply as early as possible, as once our transfer class fills, we don't have any more space available. So yes, absolutely, they can apply to enter in the fall.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think that got through all of our chat questions. Does anyone else have a question that we need to answer? Or can we assist in any way possible? Okay. So Kira asked me real quickly, privately, Riley, is it too late to apply to the ACES program?
So with the ACES program, I do believe that that application has closed, but if you have a student who is extremely interested in that, I would definitely reach out to Octavia Little, who is our admission counselor that works with all of our College of Education students. Definitely reach out to her and she can let you know a little bit more about that program. I know that they're in the process of revamping. Oh, I see Octavia has just joined right now.
The application process is not closed for ACES. It's not going to close until May 1st.
Okay.
They need to go ahead and get that in for their housing application as soon as possible because we will be doing Skype and phone interviews the second or third week in April.
Awesome. Thank you so much for chiming in on that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions that we can answer? Okay. Well, Riley and I will enter our contact information here in the chat, so please feel free to contact us if you have any more questions that we can answer for you. We're very glad that all of you were able to join us today. We do hope that this information is helpful. We will be posting it on the transfer.appstate.edu website, and then we will be sending it out to everyone who was registered today also. So if you know anyone that may have missed it, tell them not to fear. We will be sending this out for them. So again, we appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate all the work that you do with our early college students, and please note that if you need anything, Riley and I and the rest of Appalachian is here to assist. So here's my contact, and then I'll let Riley put hers in also.
Yes. Perfect.
Okay, all righty. Again, thank you for everyone for being here. We appreciate you guys, and we look forward to working with your students and with you if you have any other questions. Thanks so much.